Ant Man 3. Here we go.
The Wasp and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes. Well, not even that much Wasp. It was just the Janet Van Dyne show, which, okay. I know you had some strong opinions about this movie.
Fucking hated it.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst Marvel movies I've ever seen.
What?
They all blew together after a while.
And
It was pretty bad.
yeah, granted, I checked out of most of Phase 4, so I don't really have too much to compare to. I haven't seen Thor: Love and Thunder. I haven't seen a lot of the movies.
Multiverse of Madness.
I didn't
That one
watch.
was pretty shit too. This whole slate of Phase 4 is just, the best of them is mediocre.
The best of them is like the caliber of what you would consider the worst movie in Phase 1.
Yeah. So, plot of this one, the gang gets trapped in the quantum realm and they have to get out. And they are being pursued by the new big bad of the MCU, which is
Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror. We're ushering in the Kang dynasty in this film.
Kang the Uncharismatic.
That's it. Although he was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Jonathan Majors, it was great.
I like the guy.
He was one
Don't
of the
get me
only
wrong.
guys, he was one of the only actors in that film who didn't phone it in. There
That's
were a
fair.
lot of phoned in performances in this movie, and he was not one of them,
That's
in
true.
my opinion.
Like you can tell he tried to make it interesting. There were
Yes.
some like little actor quirks that he did.
Yes.
Some little pauses that he'd take in the dialogue.
You're an interesting man. Scott Lang.
Things to show that he cared. So, one of the things that bothered me a lot about this movie was that it didn't feel like a freaking Ant Man movie, like in the sense of, yes, Paul Rudd's there, and you get some of that funny Paul Rudd stuff in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
And then we just go right into the quantum realm. They all get sucked in when his daughter just magically creates this satellite to the quantum realm by, she read some notebooks, you know,
No
figured
problem.
out quantum mechanics, like it's like, okay.
Your daughter built a subatomic Hubble telescope in a basement.
And then they all get sucked in there.
In a very Honey, I Shrunk the Kids-esque
Yeah.
sequence where they just
Yes.
get shrunk down. into
Yeah,
the quantum
but that happens
realm.
very, very quickly. Like, it happens in the first like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
So that first 10 minutes is where you kind of get an Ant Man movie.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of just walking around being Scott Lang,
Right.
just being goofy. You're getting the humor in there. And
The characteristics of what the previous Ant-Man movies
Correct.
started,
Yes.
you get that in the
Exactly.
first 10 minutes.
You get that in the first 10 minutes, and you're thinking, okay, we're going to spend a little more time on this, do a little more setup, and it's like, nope. Exposition dump left and right, and then we're sucked right into the
Yeah.
quantum realm. And unfortunately, because we spend the whole movie in the quantum realm, we don't get any of my favorite Ant-Man character, which is Michael Pena.
Okay, hey, I believe you.
He was missed.
He
in
was.
this film. He
and
was.
I actually don't like him. I like him as an actor. That character.
I don't care about him as like. I only like him because he adds a level of humor to like bounce off of Paul Rudd.
Well, he's a staple of the Ant-Man movies.
He is, yeah. He's
And
all over
nowhere-
the first two, and
Yeah.
he's not in this one at all.
Yeah.
And that sucks because yes, you have Paul Rudd. Everybody loves Paul Rudd. He's funny, but it's nice having like another character for him to bounce that comedy off of.
Yeah.
And it plays well, in my opinion. I know you're not like the biggest fan of the Ant-Man movies.
When Ant-Man 1 came out, people seemed to like it a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't give a shit. I just didn't think it was the greatest. Guardians came out, and then like all of the movies started to have that Disney-esque sense of humor in it.
Right. Once they saw how successful Guardians was, and Guardians was just full of that Marvel humor.
Well, it's like
just-
it's like summer blockbuster humor, but like Disneyfied.
Yes.
And so all of them started having that. Ant-Man to me was just like an extension of that and annoyed.
Yeah.
Ant-Man 2 was boring as
I
fuck.
don't really remember much about Ant-Man 2.
Neither do
It was
I.
just forgettable.
I remember seeing it thinking, okay, this could have been worse. I didn't think it was like a train wreck. I don't think the first one's a train wreck either. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah. I like the first one. I like Corey Stoll as Yellow Jacket, and it had like Iron Man 1 vibes, trying to take over the company, and he gets muscled out of the company, Hank and all that shit.
I think it had Iron Man 1 vibes just simply because it was at least a competent story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. This, yes, there's a story, it's there, but it's all over the place. Like the classic trope of half the characters go one direction, the other characters go another direction. They get split up. And then they're doing their own thing, finding out information independently of each other that's being presented to the audience.
So in typical 2023 Marvel fashion, this is now the female show.
Not even the Wasp that much. It was just the pure Janet Van Dyne show.
And his daughter.
And his daughter, and Cassie, yes,
Yeah.
who was one of the most annoying additions to the MCU I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
She must have gone to the Kristen Stewart School of Acting because she doesn't know how to close her mouth.
Yeah.
Every scene, there's the two front teeth.
Yeah.
Every shot.
She's a cute girl, but you just want to like tap her chin
I just want to close that. She was frustrating, and she was that very like morally superior girl that's popping up all over the MCU now.
There's lots of morally superior things in the movie, but yeah, she just knows.
She just knows everything. She knows more than her dad, which, well, I guess she would now. She's a super genius. Every kid coming into the MCU now is a super genius. She reads some of Hank's notebooks, and she just knows how to build now this transmission device that allows her to study the quantum realm.
In a basement.
Right.
And Hank was just like, yeah, girl's a genius. I've been trying to work on this for 30 years. Look, she did it in a basement in a weekend. Like, okay.
Not only is she a genius, she's also morally superior to her dad.
Yes.
Who saved the world how many times at this point?
Yeah.
We literally saved the world.
But she's like, you're not doing enough, Dad.
Yeah. I literally saved the world, Cassie. That was last week, asshole.
What are you doing
Like,
now?
What have you done this week? And he's like, Jesus, I wrote a book. Like, back off.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say that. He
Of
just
course
takes
not.
it.
If he should have just been like, the fuck is it to you?
What have you fucking done besides get arrested?
Oh yeah, she's an activist. she's a Antifa member. Getting arrested.
She was at a peaceful protest.
Of course, peaceful protest.
Normally we save all of this stuff for the end.
It's going to be really hard to not talk about.
Literally, the first 10 minutes of this movie was just non-stop, in your face, one thing after the next, just woke shit left and right. It's like, oh my God, can you just tell a fun story, an Ant Man story?
They even set up Evangeline Lilly. I don't know if you remember, but there's some voiceover in the beginning talking about how
she took over the company.
She took over the company, and now she's like into like activism, and she's creating like affordable housing,
reforestation.
Reforestation.
Yes.
Every
as much
bullshit
signaling as you can
crap.
do. Right.
Yeah. Like all these people are just such good people.
That's how you know there are betters, because they're so morally superior. And Scott, kind of on the outside of that a little bit. He's just walking around, just having his donut and his coffee.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about that shit.
But that's what makes him a piece of shit.
That's what makes him a piece of shit. He's at that dinner in the beginning, and Cassie is just ripping on him because he's not doing enough to save people. And he's like, I saved the freaking world. Like, what more do I have to do? Not enough. Not enough. And then she ends up in jail, and everyone just treats it like, oh, you know, it's okay. She was in jail. He's like, am I the only one here who thinks going to jail is bad? It's like a rite of passage in this family, just, you know, being a criminal.
Not only that,
like,
he's
okay.
her dad. He's her dad, but the whole family is keeping the fact that she's gone to jail secret from him.
And he's the dad.
He's her dad. And he doesn't know anything about any of this.
Right.
I didn't lose the suit.
You have a suit? Wait, you have a suit?
I know how to take care of myself, okay? Trust me, I'm pretty good at it by now.
That whole opening of the film, it's like, oh, you're kind of getting some of this Ant Man vibe, but then it's ruined with all that shit. And then they get right into, oh, we're sucked into the quantum realm now. So now we're in the quantum realm. And you start to get a little backstory about what Janet was doing down there the whole time. You think she was just trapped down there, and it's like, no, there's a whole civilization down there, and she was a freedom fighter against Kang, and you learn her connection with Kang and how she thought he was just a lost traveler, helps him rebuild his drive that powers his ship that allows him to go anywhere in time, and then she finds out that he's not who he says he is.
Because she touches the core of the ship.
And then she can see his mind and his memories. Okay, convenient.
Very convenient.
There's such a weird way for her to just find out all this shit about him. He would have known if she touched his ship, if his ship had the ability to transfer his thought. It's like a thought-controlled ship. He probably would have known that. This guy's pretty smart, but he lets her touch it anyway.
Well, and then why didn't he just try to make something up? Or
like-
what you saw was a hallucination, or what you saw was a different version of me.
a
whatever.
variant of me, or fucking kill her.
Right.
Like, never once did he just think to kill these people. Of course, like, there are times when he's like, kill them, you know, like, but he keeps them alive. It's so, like, classic villain trope where he just keeps all of the main characters alive, the ones he's captured, and for no reason.
There's parts where they're shrunken down and they're fighting him, and he just, like, bats them away. Why doesn't
Or
he
you
just
could've
catch
just-
them and
Right, he's got his
squeeze them?
suit back that gives him, like, Vader powers. Doesn't even bother killing them. And then the only time it makes sense is when he uses Cassie as leverage to get
Yeah.
Scott to get the core to his ship that Janet, like, blew up and made super big and then kept him trapped there. It's the only time he actually needs Scott to do something, and then uses his daughter as leverage. So now that they're in the quantum realm, they're split up, so it's Scott and his daughter, and then it's Janet, Hank, and Hope. They're off together. Cassie and Scott get captured by this misplaced group of freedom fighters.
Yeah, led by a trans warrior princess.
Yeah.
That chick that's like fucking shredded.
She was.
She looks
Yeah.
like
And-
that one chick from Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I never played it.
Same body type.
Sure. Sounds fun. Yeah, so they go to that group, they drink the ooze, and then they can understand each other's languages and everything. And I actually appreciate that they acknowledge that. You go to a different place and everybody's speaking crazy different languages, but there's this one thing that does like a universal translator thing. It's like, okay, I appreciate that. But then that's where you start to get, there's some comedy thrown in there with those people, the mind reader guy and then the ooze guy. And it's
We
like...
got our wacky Disney summer
our
blockbuster Marvel humor.
Right. But they felt like they felt more like characters out of Guardians than they did whatever this weird quantum realm world
Yeah.
they're trying to build. So because Cassie got arrested in the beginning for wanting to help homeless people, these people are now displaced due to Kang. So she's like, Dad, we gotta stay and help them. And he's like, this isn't our fight.
Doesn't
like,
matter.
I'm trying to get you out of here to sit.
Dad, I care
Dad,
more
you're
than
an
you.
asshole. I care more than you.
Yeah.
You've never cared about anything in your life.
Yeah.
Bitch, I saved the world.
You're,
like,
you're 16. What the fuck do you know?
What do you know? Right, of course, but
No one says that in the movie either.
He never,
so annoying.
He never like stands up to her.
Ouch.
What's up with all these movies? Just like because someone's young, they know more. It's like the
That's
most
just the way.
bizarre
That's the way it
thing.
is now.
Like we learn from children? No.
Yeah,
Kids
no.
are fucking stupid.
Scott has his point of view, and it's from experience. She has an idealistic point of view because she's a child. But of course, the way these movies and stories work, ultimately, her decision was the right one because it leads to them saving these people. And it's like, yeah, but that's not how it would play out, or that's not how it would always work.
Yeah.
A lot of times, her decision would most likely just get them killed. On the other side, you get Janet and Hank and Hope. They go to see an old friend of Janet's.
And this is when we get the extended cameo of Bill Murray, who basically
just does cameos now.
cucked Michael Douglas.
He cucked Michael Douglas literally.
in a basement.
And this,
Literally.
this was, yeah, he was hooking up with Janet the whole time down
so,
there.
Yeah, while she was stuck in the quantum realm, they were banging.
Yeah.
And there's a line in the movie where Michael Douglas is sort of appalled, like reserved, but appalled at the whole thing. And she's like, I had needs.
She had needs.
And then he says, well, I met someone too. I actually just went out on a couple of dates, but it didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? Because she wasn't you, baby. So basically, the movie tries to make it that it's okay that she was out banging some dude, even though her entire objective being in the quantum realm was to get back out of
Yes,
it,
to her
knowing
family.
to her family, knowing that Hank was out there. But yeah, she's banging some douchebag.
Right. But Hank,
Yeah,
who thinks she's dead,
he thinks she's dead.
still loves her.
Yes, but he's like,
Oh.
yeah.
That was
But she was doing the empowerment thing though,
Yeah, she was very empowered.
and he was doing the cuck thing.
He was being a cuck, and
Yes.
she was just living her truth.
Yes.
She had needs.
Yeah. living
That
her
whole
truth.
exchange was just so backwards, especially because she knew that he was still alive out there and he thought she was dead. It should have been the opposite. He should have been out there living his life like, oh, I remarried because she's dead.
Dude, I love Michael Douglas, but that moment, his fucking character went down by 10 points.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just did not give a shit. It's
Yeah,
like, bro,
and he
you
like,
are a fucking
That
cunt.
whole movie, he phoned in every line. He was walking around just so confused that whole movie, like, how did I get here? What's going? Oh my God, this guy's head looks, holy shit, that guy's head looks like broccoli.
Holy, that guy looks like broccoli.
That's crazy. What's going on over here? Oh wow, she's super smart. She developed this thing.
In a basement.
He was just like so stupid.
No, I don't know if
and
it's
like
a- I don't-
not stupid, but just like oblivious to
I don't
everything.
know if it was a combination of Michael Douglas just getting up there in years,
I don't think it was that.
or him just not giving a shit.
I think it was that. I think he's not that old. He's old, but he can still turn a performance if he wanted to. I think he just phoned that shit in, probably because his character should be dead by this point.
When he's looking at a fucking tennis ball the entire movie, he's just standing in front of a green
that whole
screen.
movie was just bad green
Oh
screen.
my God, oh my God. All right, so let's jump ahead to some technical stuff. First of all, what is up with movies now where they don't even attempt to make anything look real? This whole movie looked fake as shit. It was so obviously green screen. The green screen was terrible. The lighting was bad, but aside from
Yeah,
that, the
you can really
CGI
tell.
was horrific. It was so bad. Nothing looked real. Nothing. From a design standpoint and an execution standpoint, it
Yeah.
was just an ugly mess of a movie. Do you like that part where during the meeting with Bill Murray, she says that she was a freedom fighter or terrorist,
A terrorist to some.
depending
Who?
on what side you were on?
Kang? Oh, Kang's robot minions? Like, who else were you a terrorist to besides Kang?
Regardless, it's just bullshit messaging that's like sympathetic towards terrorists. Like, this movie's planting weird fucking ideas into people. Cassie's so morally superior that when she's down there, she's like, can I join you guys to the resistance?
The second she sees a group of marginalized people or people who are fighting for a cause, she doesn't even give a shit what the cause is. She's like, oh, can I join?
Yeah, where's
Can
the protest?
Where's the protest?
You guys protesting?
You guys got signs made? I brought my own. That's the vibe she's giving off the
Yes.
whole time, and it's like,
Is there some
my
sort of
God.
injustice going on here?
Yeah.
She doesn't know anything about
She knows
the socio-political
She
landscape
knows
down there.
nothing. She's not with Hope and Janet and Hank, who actually know about the Kang storyline because Janet's telling them everything. She literally knows nothing.
These people she's with, for all we know, could be like genocidal maniacs.
Yeah, they could be like crazy outcasts or something. Like,
We
you don't know anything
but
about
because,
them.
Because they have this perceived fighting against the man, and she's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And Scott has the normal reaction of like, yeah, let's not get involved in their fight. We're just trying to get home. So like, we don't have enough information to like be part of this. We're technically in another universe. So let's just remove ourselves and find the others and get the hell out of here. And she's like, you're so bad, Dad. You don't know what these people have been through. It's like, and you do? Shut up.
Just a constant lecture for her
oh.
dad.
And Dad just takes it. He's like, Cassie, I love you.
Every man in this movie just takes it. Yeah. That's what the whole thing is. And not only take it, they have like this dumb look on their face when they're taking it. Like every white guy in a commercial nowadays, that's every character in this movie, every male character in this movie.
That's just the MCU now. This movie was silly. This movie was
This movie
ridiculous.
was fucking stupid.
Right around that time, they bring in MODOK. And MODOK is one of those examples of it works in the comics, but it's really fucking silly in a movie, in a live action movie. And of course, they just completely eliminate the actual MODOK's backstory and just give it to Darren.
This is my moment. I want you to see it.
Sure, Dad. Yeah, sure.
Yellow Jacket from the first Ant Man. And it's like, at this point, who gives a shit? Sure, it's Darren now. And he's so stupid.
They just
so
use him, he's just a gag.
He's a gag. He's supposed to be like insanely smart. They make Darren like a fucking moron in this. He's a gag, like you said. But all this, like, this brings us to Kang. I like Jonathan Majors. He did a decent job with what he was given in this. Yeah, I thought he played the character very well.
Yeah.
And you're starting to learn about his motivations and what he's trying to do with the timelines and all that stuff. And they get into some of that, and then they also touch on some of that. Like, they set up some of that at the end of the first season of Loki. Mm-hmm. But we're not gonna get into that. We're just focused on Kang in this iteration of him. His whole goal is to escape. He was exiled in the quantum realm, and he just wants to get out so he can continue his conquering. So he just wants to get the hell out of there, do his thing, and they're just trying to stop him from getting out of there.
I'm sorry, but you go from Thanos, which he was a very compelling villain.
Sure,
especially
he had
for
a simple motive too.
He did. He was probably their best.
Yeah.
He was a great villain.
He was.
He had charisma. He was interesting.
You understood his perspective.
You did.
There were a lot. I remember the hashtag Team Thanos.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of that going on.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Kang is nowhere near as interesting, even though
No.
Majors tried to make him interesting.
This is still just like really the beginning of him.
I know.
If they're gonna weave him into other movies like they did with Thanos.
I know, and it's not fair necessarily to compare him to a different villain, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I know, because they're different, I don't know. To me, it's just not a good start. I know that Marvel was hinting at Thanos, and you just see him every now and then. But as soon as he was on screen, and Josh Brolin was like fully invested into it,
he was a presence.
It was a yes.
You understood exactly what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
What he was trying to obtain.
Yeah.
The sacrifices he made, the sacrifices he was willing to make. You got all of that.
Yeah.
This, it's like, you still don't have a clear picture of what Kang is trying to do. Because he's just trapped there, he's trying to get out, and then they're trying to stop him from getting out because he's going to do... Like, he kind of gives a little insight to that, telling Scott, like, oh, something horrible's coming if you don't let me out. Like, it's definitely going to come. And Scott's just like, whatever, you're a bad guy. I'll stop you. When we get to the end of the film and you find out Kang isn't just trying to like get out himself. He wants to take everything he built there with him, his army essentially. And I started getting Clue vibes from Tron, that whole scene where he's like trying to escape the grid. And that,
I didn't even think about that. But yeah.
That's what that whole scene felt like to me.
Yeah.
He's doing his little broadcast, and then of course Cassie takes over the broadcast and gives her little freedom fighter,
her little socialist hoorah,
her little revolution,
her little manifesto.
And then Scott finally shows up and then does some smashing. He shows up like 200 feet tall and just starts wrecking shit. And it's like he doesn't really do much this movie except just be there. Like he does the one thing where he has to shrink down and like shrink the core down. Other than that, it's like
no, he doesn't do shit.
He's just a side character in his own movie.
So
this is the Janet Van Dyne movie.
Yeah, and so is the Wasp. Like
she doesn't really do much either.
Yeah, and the movie is definitely WOM in power, but she still doesn't.
She doesn't do much. Like they each have their moments where they're like in a quick scuffle and they like save some people, and it's like on the level of the entire story, like Wasp does very little.
Yeah,
and it's the Ant Man and Wasp. They're supposed to be driving this story.
They are. There's no like strong character arc between the two of them or anything.
No.
They're basically just the same people that they were all along.
Right.
Maybe he ends up understanding his daughter a little bit better because of course she's right about everything by the end of the film, and she's like, oh.
Yeah. And then comes to the moment in the movie that we looked at each other like, should we leave? Should we leave this movie? Hank was working on an experiment with all these ants. And the ants get sucked into the quantum realm as well. But somehow, just with the ants, not with them, there's a time dilation of 1,000 years. And these are super smart ants. So they build a class 2 civilization.
Yes.
And they are controlled by Hank. They basically listen to him.
Yeah.
And they come to his aid and help storm Kang's little party at the end.
And there's this one line.
Right before that, though, he's giving this exposition dump about how they built this amazing civilization.
And then he drops in.
He drops the line.
Socialism is a charged word nowadays. But if we were to actually listen to the ants, if we were to observe the ants, we would learn something. This movie's spreading fucking commie weird
So
bullshit.
what you're saying is socialism is hive mind.
Yeah,
because that's what an ant colony is.
Yes, they're all a bunch of hive mind drones that just go about.
So that you literally just said the quiet part out loud there.
Yes.
What the fuck?
That's what they want. They want just a bunch of subservient drones.
He makes a pitch that this perfect, advanced class 2 civilization ant colony is a socialist colony. No, it's not. What are you talking about? That was bullshit. That moment though, where he showed up and it's like, yeah, the old guy still got it, and all the ants like come around him was cool, but it was ruined by that fucking line.
Yeah, weirdo socialist agenda shit.
And you can tell when they switch from telling the story to just cramming messages down your
yeah,
throat.
oh,
Like,
it's been 15 minutes since we dropped
it's
our
not
last
even
message.
woven into the story anymore. It's like, hold on, stop the story. Have you heard of socialism? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, Michael Douglas gets completely cucked in the
He's
movie.
cucked
Literally cucked.
and a
then-
socialist.
which makes sense. That's just redundancy.
Uh-huh.
It makes perfect sense that he said that line at the end of the
It
movie.
does.
Finds out that his
Spoken
wife's
like a
getting
cuck.
fucked by Bill
By
Murray.
Bill Murray,
and he's
of
like,
all people.
you know what? Socialism's a great thing.
Yeah. You know what? We should all live under a socialistic society and have our wives get fucked by other men. Like that was Michael Douglas in this movie.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but fucking Romancing the Stone, Michael Douglas, Black Rain, Michael Douglas.
Oh my God, Falling Down, Michael Douglas. Those are gone.
Would not- yeah.
Those days are gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the final showdown between Kang and Ant Man. His Darth Vader suit gets damaged, so now he doesn't have superpowers anymore. So now he's just a dude.
His purple Darth Vader
And
suit.
him and Scott throw down, and there were some heavy hits in that fight.
Brutal
Actually,
fight.
I thought that was a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
It was a decent fight.
Well, I mean, it wasn't too much of a fight.
No,
Scott
I
was
mean,
just getting his ass kicked.
Scott was
But-
getting his ass kicked,
But that was
he-
realistic.
He was exactly.
Yeah.
He was serving his purpose in
Yes.
that moment.
Yeah.
Stopping him from getting out.
Yeah, and it shows how, like, the physicality of Majors.
Yes, which I was like, oh, we're getting a little preview of Creed here.
Yes, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. And then they stop him from getting out, and back to the real world. And then they get into the post-credit scenes where it's like all the Kangs are together now, like, we're gonna do some shit. And you got the Pharaoh Kang, and then that weird lispy Kang. This is just weird. Let's just rate this thing. I want to know what you give this first.
This movie is getting a 3.5.
Ooh.
Fuck this movie. I hated it. Everyone like shits on Thor Dark World, and yeah, it's not a good movie. I'd rather watch that than this piece of shit. I am no longer Marvel's audience.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
They've changed too much for you?
Yeah, they lost me.
I
I checked out after Endgame.
The Winter
I'm done.
Soldier days are gone.
Yeah.
So for me, I tried to separate a lot of the woke shit and save that. I know it's hard. I settled with a 4.5 because I struggled. Like, I still, at the end of the day, I like Paul Rudd. I like Jonathan Majors.
I was just not entertained. I was like
Well, that's the
bored off
thing.
my
It's
ass
an
watching
entertainment
it.
factor. There were moments when I was entertained. Some of the humor, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. But for the most part, I mean, a 4.5 is still pretty freaking low.
No, it's
like,
yeah.
that most of it didn't work for me. But
Yeah.
the things that did work, I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to go below that.
That
Now,
being said, though, the rainbow scale.
yeah, we couldn't save this till the end. We were just the whole.
Just too much to talk
There's
about.
just too much to talk about. So
So for all the reasons that we listed before,
yeah,
this movie is getting a 4 on the rainbow scale.
yes, I'm with you on that one. There's a solid 4. There was just some like hard messaging just thrown in your face in this movie, and it was all throughout.
Yeah.
It was throughout the whole movie.
Like, for the most part, I think that the film was trying to indoctrinate people to turn into protesters.
yeah, exactly.
Like, you walk out of this movie and you're part of Antifa. That's what their objective was,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Scott Lang's daughter was an Antifa member.
Antifa and dreaming.
That's what she was.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she joins Antifa in the quantum zone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Cassie, future Antifa member. And that was it. I mean, Ant-Man 4, if there even is an Ant-Man 4, I'm surprised they even let him live in this one, considering the way things are going.
I heard that originally he was supposed to die in his own movie.
He's Paul Rudd. They got to keep him around. He's too liked as an actor.
He is, and I like Paul Rudd as well, but for me, he wasn't even enough to save this movie.
No,
I felt like
he wasn't.
This is the first time I feel like I've seen Paul Rudd he phoned
Autopilot.
it in. Yeah,
Super
autopilot.
He had a couple lines here and there where I was like, okay, autopilot Rudd.
But it was not entertaining to me. I don't know. The movie's called Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, but it's
got
not
very
really
little-
about Ant Man or the Wasp. It's just about how idealistic his daughter is and how she's right about everything.
Yeah, she's the future of the franchise, so fuck it. All right, another one in the books. Fuck that movie.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.